Jason.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicole Dabbs. I'm an associate professor at Cal State San Bernardino. We started a Three Wins program maybe in probably hopefully somewhat successfully a couple of years ago. So now we're kind of stuck in the mud a little bit, as I'm sure most of you. And then Dr. Ng is also working with me as one of the faculty directors.
Go ahead, Jason, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Jason Ng. I'm working alongside Dr. Dabbs over at California State University San Bernardino, faculty in the kinesiology department. And Dr. Dabbs has been pretty instrumental in launching Three Wins on our campus. And then so it's a pretty great program, and I thought I'd jump in and help out a little bit. I think I'm a little bit more involved on more of our exercises medicine efforts, and because it's so similar, we wanted to do more things to tie the two together.
Zach.
Hello, everyone. I'm Zach Zenko, assistant professor from CSU Bakersfield. I started being sort of the primary faculty advisor of Three Wins last year, and we were rolling after restarting, but obviously now we're taking a pause. Hopefully, who knows, maybe this will be an opportunity to create some online at-home interventions, activities, something. So yeah, I'm excited for this meeting.
Thank you. Jill and Chad are together along with Vanessa. Go ahead, Jill.
Hi, I'm Jill Dempsey. Very happy to be here today. I am an associate instructor at the University of Indianapolis, teaching group exercise leadership, coordinating interns, and teaching wellness. So we're very excited to hear what you all have to say today. And Chad, I'll send it to you.
Thanks, Jill. So I'm Chad O'Daffer, also faculty in exercise science at University of Indianapolis, and have been conversing with Dr. Loy over the course of several months, looking at implementing the foundations of Three Wins Fitness in Indianapolis and our surrounding community on the south side of Indianapolis. So really excited to try and get started, and I'm going to try to wade through the waters of doing this virtually. Even though we do have some in-person classes, this would not be something that we would try to get rolling with in person. So excited to hear how you guys are doing things.
And Vanessa.
Hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm a student, senior at UND. I took a class with Dr. O'Daffer this summer that helped implement some of the Three Wins blueprint for what we want to achieve with the program at UND and the UND community.
We do have one more student with us, Eric Hobbs. So Eric, I'm going to have you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Eric. I also had a class with Chad O'Daffer, helping to start the Three Wins Fitness and the program here in Indianapolis. I'm a senior exercise science major.
Thank you. Let's see, let's go to GW. Let's go with Michelle first, then Kelly, and then Tim.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Stevens. I am an academic advisor, practicum internship coordinator for the Exercise Nutrition Science Department at George Washington University. And I'm an alumni of that program, originally from California, so, and a diabetes educator on the side. So this all checks so many boxes for me. Kelly or Tim?
Thank you. Kelly?
Thank you, Dr. Loy. My name is Kelly Vargo. I serve on faculty in the Exercise and Nutrition Science Department at GW. And I also serve as a practicum coordinator for our Masters of Public Health students in the graduate level. And what else? I do a lot of work with the American Council on Exercise as a behavior change specialist and advocacy on the Hill. So we were fortunate enough with Tim to secure a grant this past year with the Department of Health in DC, and kind of with Dr. Loy's help got the footprints on the ground and getting our foundation. And I think it was a very informative year between the first site being flooded and then COVID hitting. We kind of had to do a lot of pivots, but I think it helped us kind of set up for this virtual experience. So I'm looking forward to the next year. And Tim.
Kelly, good to see you. Hey, Tim.
Hey everyone, I'm Tim Hughes, also originally from California. The External Relations and Outreach Manager at Trust for America's Health, and also a MPH graduate of GW's public health program with a concentration in exercise and public health, and responsible for bringing Three Winds Fitness over to DC, familiar with what Dr. Loy and the students were all doing at CSUN. So getting it on the ground here and up and running at GW, as Kelly mentioned, we're getting it up and running for the spring and got hit with a number of different curveballs. So trying to put together a virtual program at this point with it.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Joella, we'll come to you down in Dominguez Hills.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joella Chaparro. I am an assistant professor at Cal State Dominguez Hills. And we had Three Winds for about 2 years, and just trying to see how we could get it back running virtually.
And then I think our longest running program is out of Cal State LA with Ann and Christine. Ann, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Annie Larson. I'm a kinesiology professor. I am old. I have been part of this since it was 100 citizens. I'll spare a million details. We have been thrilled to be part of the program. I am the former director of our School of Kinesiology and Nutritional Science. We very much are a community engaged program, and we all the more pushed 100 citizens / Three Winds. We are, when we pivoted, we did texting, workouts, we did smoke signals. We tried to get the word out as best as possible. We are also running a program in conjunction with our research partners from RAND, where we are uniquely going through parishes in East LA to help folks become a little more healthy. So we are very interested in being part of this. I'm a huge, huge fan of Dr. Loy's, will forever be. And with me is Christine Shea, who is our boots on the ground manager of the program. So I will throw it to her.
Hi, everyone. This is Christine. I've been working with Dr. Larson and Dr. Loy for the last 5 years, and also part of the NIH project as well. And this transition has been pretty interesting. It's presented a lot of opportunities for us to work and reach out to the participants we had remotely through text and email, YouTube videos, and creating at-home workout programs. So just interested in seeing how we can pivot in the fall to just a wider program. So nice to meet everyone.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And then what we'll do is I'll introduce our students as we go along. They all have pivotal roles in the project going forward at this point in time. But again, I apologize for the technological difficulties. Those are all on me, and thank you to Josh. He's our tech wizard, clearly by his background. He's a little farther along the trail than I am. But we're here today, and everybody that was supposed to be is here as well. And so thank you and welcome to this meeting. I think just by the introductions, you get a sense too of the potential breadth and scope that Three Winds can transcend, depending on the location, as well as depending on the personnel who are involved. It has great possibilities. One thing that Chad and I spoke about is that the advantage of doing something with the University of Indianapolis is that ACSM headquarters is in Indianapolis. And so there's the potential of tying back into them. We were tied in pretty good originally when Jim was the vice president or the head honcho at ACSM, but he is now retired. But I think having Indianapolis involved gives us some visibility in that regard. So we all know that we have COVID-19 here, and that when that hit in March, our message to the parks was that we weren't going to be there. We'd throw a few things online for them to follow. But at that point in time too, I was perhaps under the impression that maybe we would be back in July or August. And that was, a while ago already. And so now we're in a much different place. And it was around June, May and June, where it was this realization that this is going to be a long-term, not just a momentary pivot, but a long-term adjustment that we were going to have to make. And so at that point then, I think it was the realization that, wow, we're going to be at home. We're going to be at home for a long time, but yet at the same point in time, maybe that gives us the opportunity to slow down. Because I think every program that I've been involved with, it's always been this need to help people get better quickly, as quick as we could. And that then, even at the parks, was present, that, let's help you, let's move you along. We would give a regression on a particular exercise, but then for the most part, we would go back to the usual form of that exercise, and that person was kind of left doing the regression, but yet then they weren't comfortable doing a regression of an exercise when everybody else was doing the regular one. And so there's this pressure, I think, on people to keep moving as rapidly as possible, and to be able to count repetitions, even if it was, not the best looking and perhaps not the most correctly executed. But then this opportunity of being at home was that, well, now no one's watching you. And so that if we could create a regression for you, we could have you work on that. And, it might take a month, it might take 2 months, but yet you might be able to actually get where you need to get to. And so that was then the idea of creating this Back to Basics, which was thinking about our older population and falls prevention, and that many of them did not like to get on the ground when we were at the parks. They did not like to get on the ground because they could not get up or would need assistance. And so that became then the thought of, okay, back to basics. Can you get down to the ground and can you get back up? And so we thought, okay, that will be fine. We'll do that foundation. But then the thought was, well, if you can't get down to the ground and you can't get back up, then maybe we should provide something for that. And so that then was the prep program that we have. And Josh will lead you on a little bit of a tour through the website. And so then we have that. And so that all seemed all good. But then now how do we get people involved with a program online that is this Back to Basics and a foundation and a prep? And that led us then to this idea of, okay, we are home for a year. So why don't we help people for the entire year? Why don't we help them on their own at home, but yet form a collective group that would allow us to work with them, give them something of what was at the parks, but yet recognizing that it wasn't entirely so. And also perhaps to emphasize the use of social media to the extent that we had in the past, but we hadn't spent all our time on it because it wasn't necessary. So then we thought a greater robust push on social media would give us a greater outreach. And so we have been focusing on that as well. And with that, then that allowed us then to create a number of students. And so we'll walk us through the program. Again, I'll have the students give their perspectives, but let's start with Josh first. And Josh will give you, if you haven't gone through the website, he'll give you this is the $100 tour because it's in person. Okay, there is a virtual tour, but this is the real deal, especially by the person who created the website. So he's like the background at Disneyland. He knows all the ins and outs, and I think he can lead us through it best. So go ahead, Josh. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So I'm going to be sharing my screen with you all. And so if you haven't already, when you go to our website, the front page will look just like this. I kind of updated the website quite a bit just so that it could be a little bit more user-friendly. We did have some participants that expressed that they didn't know how to follow it. They didn't know where to go, what to click on, which was good. And we wanted that. And so we encouraged them to provide their feedback. And so with some help of our staff giving us that input and their participants giving us that input, we have the website that we have now. And so we have our Back to Basics and we have our Journey 365. And so, or excuse me, 365 Journey to Health. Their first step would be to register as a participant story for this 365 Journey to Health. So that's kind of like the first thing that they see when they come to our website. Alternatively, they can go to programs and they can see all the different programs that we offer now and what we've offered in the past. So like the CSUN Get Active and the 3 Wins Fitness Challenge, those are things that we were doing when we were not remote. But the main focus is right here, this 365 Journey to Health. And so right there where it says register, they click there. And then participants are taken to a registration form where they'll enter their information, their email, they'll identify their SMART goals. So we're really big with identifying SMART goals, right? Having that purpose attached to whatever it is that they want to do. And of course, making it SMART. Anyone here not familiar what a SMART goal is? Oh, perfect, awesome. So they identify their SMART goal. They identify, originally we had a group, so mobility, strength, aerobic. We found out everybody wants to work on all three. So, that no longer became our division. It became how well do you get down and up off the floor? So how many times they can get down and up off the floor without pain. They identify which one that is. Let's say I prefer not to get down. So we would recommend to them our foundation program. And so they would select foundation. All of this gets dropped into a Google spreadsheet where we can look at and say, okay, who do we have in our B2B family? Who do we have in our, prep family, in our foundation and our program family? Once they've gone through this whole process, they'll get a confirmation email outlining everything that our program offers. The big one, and we always tell our participants, your best friend is going to be this calendar of events. This is everything, anything and everything that we provide throughout our program. So we do have weekly episodes where we feature our star staff member, Desiree. And so we have an editing team that kind of, Desiree captures footage of herself. They record with our experts. So we have a nutritionist, we have a psychologist, a sociologist, a doctor, and I'm missing one more, I think. Who's the last one?
Sociologist, the mindfulness.
Mindfulness, yes. So we have our experts that meet with Desiree. They record those Zoom sessions, and that kind of becomes like the topic for that week. So those are our weekly episodes. We do have Facebook Lives, which I'm not going to talk too much about. We'll have one of our staff members come in and talk about how that functions with social media. But there's links to that so they can go directly to our Facebook Live pages. We've consolidated our meetings so far, but we do, every week we have a theme. So one week is mobility, aerobic, strength, those same three categories that I identified before. And so each one of these has a link to the Zoominar that we host. So this coming Tuesday, August 18th, we're talking about strength. And with that, they can come here, they can click on this link. It'll take them exactly to the Zoom session where they'll enter the password. All of our passwords for all of our meetings for our participants is Believe. Part of that is, to prevent any Zoom bombing. They have to subscribe to our email list. They have to register as a participant to get that password. So it's just like another way of driving them to our program. If they want access, they have to join. And so I even put a notice here. If you'd like to join the Zoom meeting, subscribe to our email list for the password.
Josh, can we go back into July?
Yes.
And show them one of the, either the kickoff link or maybe one of the first episodes with Desiree?
Oh, yes. So I'll show the first episode. So this was episode 1. And that's another thing. So anytime we have a meeting and something's recorded or there's a video, it's also embedded right there. So it's easy access for them. They don't have to go searching on YouTube, and they wouldn't be able to find it because all of our YouTube videos are unlisted. So unless they have the link, they won't be able to find it. And so that, again, drives them directly to our website rather than YouTube. We want them to be on our website. So I'll go ahead and play this first episode. Let me add audio. Okay.
Hello, Three Winds family. Welcome to 365 Journey to Health. My name is Gabby, and I'm an instructor for San Fernando Park, as well as the main host for these episodes. If you haven't yet heard of 365 Journey to Health, it is a free program offered to all communities with the goal of making your goal a reality. Whether your goal is to run farther, or to get up off the floor, or to even increase your endurance to play with your grandchildren, we believe that with us, we can make that come true. Throughout the year, we will have expert-led workshops where you will learn tips and tricks on how to improve your health. Although this journey will yield many great stories, our focus will be on our staff member, Desiree. These episodes will show Desiree's daily life, as well as showcasing some of you all and your journey throughout this 365 days. This first episode, we will learn a little bit more about Desiree and her lifestyle before she embarks on this journey with all of us. We're excited to have you, and let's get started.
All right, hi Desiree. So great talking to you, and thank you for taking the time to do this with us. I just wanted to start off by saying that for everyone that will be watching this, I think I speak for most that you are an inspiration to all of us. And for me, just speaking from my heart, I think that you are so strong, so brave, and so passionate to be doing this. And I'm so excited to be sharing your story and getting to know you a little bit more. So thank you for letting me do this today.
Thank all of you. You all have helped me so much. Three Winds, honestly, before I came to Three Winds, like I didn't even know how to talk. You guys gave me that community and that like family that I just never had before.
That's what I love about Three Winds too. It's that we just welcome people, and then you're immediately part of the family, and we're all growing and we're all learning and getting healthier, which is just so amazing. So I know that weightlifting, clearly, as you were saying right now, has been your passion, your life, and that's what started this whole journey for you. Do you remember your first day weightlifting and how that felt for you? Because I know you weren't doing much before, so I can't imagine just feeling that like, oh, alive and freeness. So can you go into that for me?
You know how they say with anybody that I think we're training now, the hardest thing for them is walking in that door that first day.
Mm-hmm. Most
definitely for me. And it was only that first day. And it was just because I was so sedentary and so scared of hurting myself. Like I had already been starting to squat at home and doing things at home. And I told all of this to my trainer over the phone before I met him. I'm like, okay, I've been doing this many quarter squats. I've been doing this, you know, and I'm like, I'm worried because I'm still really heavy and I don't want to hurt my knees because my knees are already an issue. I was still over 300 pounds at the time. I was just like, I want to get stronger. I really want to learn how to squat and have like that full range of motion so then I can just hold my body weight better. I went in that first day scared. Like, I'm just like, I don't want to hurt myself. Like, I just remember I'd just shake. Like people would talk about working out and suddenly I'm having like this horrible reaction just to them talking about working out. And I think just part of it is because if you've been a person that hasn't ever been very active, like it's just an insecurity. It's just like, that's something everybody else does. You don't know what that's like. Yeah, that first day is the hardest. And it comes, I think for each individual, like the anxiety is probably different and from different reasons.
Part of the journey, right? It's being patient with yourself, first of all, but it's also taking that leap. And I love that you said that the first day is always the hardest. Getting your foot through the door is the hardest. And I think that I see that in Three Winds. I see that when people are walking and they're hesitant to join the program, or even in this wonderful program that we're doing with you, I know that people are going to be hesitant. They're going to hear that you're doing this journey for a year and it's going to be hard. And I think that that's scary to start something so long, but it's taking that little 5 second of bravery and just going. And I feel like a lot of people don't regret that. And especially you are in love with weightlifting now and it's changing your life. And that's amazing.
and you're inspiring people through that. Okay, so from weightlifting, then your journey took off. So from there, you fell in love and you kept working, and then you have lost a ton of weight, and you do attribute that to your to weightlifting, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely. And not just weightlifting, I think from taking like a holistic perspective of my health and making small changes over time. And you know, that was the biggest thing, is like I would think it was just one diet before, and like it's all about losing the weight. And at first, like I heavily focused on just losing the weight, but the more I started to focus on my body's a project, it's just about being consistent, you know, it's just about growing every day, you know, it became more natural, I guess, because so it is the weightlifting, but it was also the mindset that came with it. Like weightlifting just happens to be the way I like to move, you know, but really you can do any movement, you know, it's making it natural. It's making it not this horrible anxiety ridden thing every day that I don't have time for, and oh my gosh, life and all this stuff. It's like, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, just to stretch out with a stick, because there's been days that's all I did. I just took a stick and stretched, you know, did some overhead squats, and I didn't feel like doing anything, but it's like after I did that, it feels better. And then with anxiety and with all of those things, I think it's easy to go towards things that make you feel better instantly, like sugar. Mm-hmm. And I found that weightlifting let me have something to put in front of the sugar.
I know for you, Olympic weightlifting is a huge part of your life and your journey. And it's amazing and it's exciting to see what everyone else's journey is going to be. Whether that's, you know, just cracking the door open and trying new things like body weight exercises, or maybe mobility, or back to basic videos, whatever it is. I know that this journey is going to be unique for everyone, and their story is going to be unique to them. And it's exciting to be able to be a part of that and to hear their journey. Thank you so much, Desiree. I think that this is day one of our episode, and it's going to only get better from here. So thank you for being our inspiration.
Thank you, Gabby.
All right. So as I said, you can access all of these episodes. So if you want to kind of watch through them on your own time, we do have up to 5 now. So we are working on our 6th one. Episodes are typically under 5 minutes. So it's a pretty quick watch. Kind of just gives an overview of what we're going to be talking about that week in our Zoominars, what the experts will be talking about. And it's also conversation for our family meetings. So Tuesday nights, we have our family meetings. You know, every participant, you know, gets in their little group, their prep, foundation, and program family hubs. Everybody talks about, you know, what they're doing that week. So moving forward, again, when we send out that email, they'll get a link to this calendar, as well as what program they're supposed to follow. And so everything is revolved around our Back to Basics program. We have our prep program, we have our foundation, and we have our program. Each one of these I've created to be more or less the same as far as how to access them. So each one of the pages starts with steps. Prep program is the only one with 4 steps, but there's steps that here that they can follow. So the first one is that PAR-Q, the Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire. They access this. We tell them that they don't have to turn this in. This is for their own, you know, personal reference. They fill this out. There's an English and a Spanish version. That would be their step 1. Step 2, they download our guided calendar. So this was something that was actually created by Jenny. She designed the program. I just put it into a, you know, more or less friendly format for participants to kind of follow along. Each one of these are hyperlinks that will take them to that exact workout that they can follow. Step 3, they'll download the exercise checklist. So this was created by Arlene. And so again, we all know the power of logging and keeping track of your exercise, whether that's, you know, virtually, you know, we'll talk about Strava later today, or maybe it's something handwritten. Some people resonate with different things. So we're providing them with different opportunities where they can start tracking their own journey. So the exercise, the sets, the reps, what they actually completed, any notes, weekly goals. And so this is all typable. So, you know, they can type in, you know, my weekly goal is I want to exercise, you know, 3 days this week. Exercise 3 days. And then whatever phase they're in, I'm in phase 1, 2, so on and so forth. And then the much neglected cardio component, right? Most people, you know, don't really meet those physical activity guidelines. We tell everyone trying to get at least 30 minutes, 5 days out of the week, what activity they did, and then for how long. For prep program, our fourth step is start the journey below. So they would continue scrolling, and we have our phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So each one of these, depending on the phase, they can see the workout. Again, all these videos are embedded. They don't have to re-navigate to YouTube. Tells them the circuit. So exercise 1, do 8 reps per foot. That's what you start with. You progress to 10 reps. And again, this is where those weekly meetings with our instructors come into play. So if a participant's at 8 reps and next week they should go up to 9 reps, but they're not quite ready, then our instructors would come in, okay, don't worry, we don't have to go to 9 this week. We can stay at 8 for a little bit. And so again, it's providing our staff with that opportunity to really apply what they know, what they learn in their classes about progressive overload, about all the things that, you know, you learn in your classes. And so a couple tips of what they should know about these circuits. And so it goes across. So each one of our instructors, some of our staff members had already filmed all of these. Some of them are on this call, like Alex is on this call. He'll be talking a little bit later. And then our newest addition is this bonus step, is joining our Strava club. So again, it's that virtual way of logging your activity. I won't talk too much about it. Arlene will be talking a little bit about the Strava club and why it's important. But I've also added instructions here for how do they join it. Are they on a mobile device or on a computer? We do have a spectrum of participants that are on different devices. So it's trying to identify, okay, where are users coming from? And actually, Dr. Loy's daughter, Mackenzie, has been really great with metrics and identifying how they visit our website. So that also kind of cues me. If a lot of them are on a mobile device, I need to make the website a little bit more mobile friendly. If they're on a tablet, same thing. And so kind of all of our instructions are trying to, you know, cover all the bases. I'll go through the next program. So Foundation, this is one of our 3-step programs. And so this one is a unique one. And actually, I really do like this one because with this Foundation program, we have elicited help from different students who speak different languages. So again, same part Q, step 2, we do have an exercise checklist specifically for this one. Because this is a set program, all the exercises are put in play for them. And this was actually recommended by a participant. She was wondering, you know, rather than having to go back to the video each time, she could remember the exercises, but not the order and what they were called. And so by putting it out there for them, you know, they know, oh, I know what a glute kick with a row is. You know, I'm doing my glute kicks, right? So that was actually a feedback from a participant. Step 3, they start their journey. And again, the same Strava. Oh, and I did want to identify, and again, Arlene will talk about this, but we do have metrics for Strava, and we have some goals tied to it. You know, how far can we travel distance-wise as a group? How high can we climb as a group? So coming down, we have our different languages. We have our English, we have Japanese, everything is translated. We have Spanish, female, and a male student. We have Tagalog and Vietnamese. So we have more, more languages coming in. We do have an Arabic that I still need to post up, so that one's in the mix. But again, it's that all-inclusiveness of getting people, doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, what language you speak, whatever it is, you know, we're here for you. And again, we work with what we have. We're certainly not going to try and put something out there that our staff can't handle. You know, we identified, and part of our staff application, so that's another thing that I work on, is collecting all of our staff applications, whether they're intern or volunteer, and they have also identified, are they bilingual, are they trilingual, and they tell us what type of what language they speak. And so then we invited those individuals, are you comfortable making this, you know, translation video? And so again, it's another opportunity for them working on those soft skills. Not all of our students are ready to do, to run a live workout, but they can film themselves and they have multiple tries. Maybe they mess up a couple times. That's okay. No one's going to see the mess ups. They're just going to see the final product. So it's providing these opportunities. And then finally, we have our B2B program. And again, same 3 steps, 1, 2, and 3, exercise checklist, start their journey, and that bonus step. So again, you can see the repetition. Part of that is if a participant graduates to the next level, nothing really changes. It's just new exercises, but how they navigate is exactly the same. So we do our phase 1, day 1, day 2, day 3, same thing. They click on it. You have your video that's embedded that explains the workout. And a lot of these videos aren't follow-alongs. They're just simply, how do I follow this workout? If you do go to the YouTube channel, so like if you wanted to click directly on this, it will provide timestamps for you. So, click the wrong one. Let's go here. There we go. So in the description, I've had all of our staff identify the timestamps. So let's say, oh, I forgot how to do an upright row. Click on there, takes them right to the upright row. So again, it's making it as easy as possible for our participants. Many of our participants are in the older population, not as tech savvy. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for them. And so again, we have our 3 phases, tells them, this phase is going to be 2 weeks, frequency 3 days per week. But again, in those family meetings, our staff will emphasize, maybe this phase is 4 weeks for you. Maybe it's 1 week for you. So it's really kind of personalizing the program as best we can. And that's the expertise of our staff, of the kinesiology students, the public health students.
I have a question.
Yes.
What system do you guys use to edit your videos and kind of make it more easy to transfer? You said that people make mistakes, but we don't see the mistakes because we just kind of edit them out.
Yeah, so honestly, it varies with depending on who's doing the editing. I know our kind of head editor, if you will, she uses Adobe Premiere Pro. That's actually free for CSUN students to access. And I think it's CSU wide. So I think all CSU, they have access to that. I know Alex has his own program that he uses. So it's really kind of based on what our staff have. We certainly don't have them buy or purchase any type of program. It's what you have. Jenny's made a couple videos straight from her phone. There's a couple apps that you can do on your phone where you can make some edits. Some of them, they look a little better because, the program's a little better. But again, it's part of it is we're not looking for, Hollywood style, Hollywood, level editing. It's just our participants know what we have. We know they know our resources and they appreciate it. And so we do our best to make it look as good as possible. But whatever program, you can work with it.
Sweet, thank you.
Yeah. All right, and then the last page is part of this whole thing. So this is kind of like that next step. So, let's say they've kind of mastered, their program and they want a little bit more to do. We did have an exercise education series where we talked about core, lower body, upper body, aerobic, and flexibility. So they kind of read about that. For this one, you can see, excuse me, who the coach is. Some participants, they know exactly who I want to see all the videos by Jenny. So we identified this is going to be Jenny. How long is it going to be? 3 minutes and 48. Who can watch this? All fitness levels. Aerobic mobility and strength education. So same thing. The title, we're talking about aerobic education. Here's the video. Who's instructing? Tony is. How long is it? Who can watch it? Prep, foundation, program. Some of them, like for example, one of Jenny's mobility flows right here. So this is like a level 2, right? Recommended foundation and program. Don't recommend it to the prep family. And what participants can also do with this is, let's say, I want to learn about strength education. They can type in strength and everything strength related will populate. So, Chris is our strength guy. He talks about, the push-up, the hinge, so they can learn all about that. Again, we do have that bilingual opportunity for them. So if they speak Spanish, same thing. We have a different group of students that have been translating all of these videos. You know, let's say they wanted to look at a video made by one of our staff members, David. Pops up. Those are the two videos by David. And so again, it's trying to make it easy for them, trying to, you know, give them more resources that they can refer to. And then the last part is our exercise video library. So this is just kind of a collection of different things that they can kind of get involved with. You know, we have importance, I think that's a typo. This is a pre-part course series from Desiree working with just a stick. So she's very big on, you know, using a stick, whether it's a broomstick, whether it's, you know, a dowel or whatever the case may be. Same thing with Alex. He has his video that he created. And then we had a little fun one, you know, a little dance thing. Some of our participants really love to dance. We have students that know how to dance. So, you know, they created a video that they can follow along. And so we're going to be populating this, you know, whatever students want or interested in doing, they create the video, they edit however often they need to, and we post it up. Gives them a place where they can say, you know, this is what I worked on, right? You know, they can add this as their virtual resume, if you will. And so each one of our programs, again, it's very easily accessible, as easily accessible for our participants as we've made it. We're still kind of fine tuning it. Every so often I'll go in and kind of mess around with some of the settings. But we use WordPress. So if, you know, any of you are interested in making your own website, I know George Washington, I believe, started their own website. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly, Michelle.
Yeah, we have a website still in development. It's not anywhere near the capacity you guys are, which is incredible right now.
Yeah, I mean, WordPress is pretty easy to navigate than coding. I know very little coding, so I kind of just try to make things easy for myself as well. But this is pretty much how we navigate, how our participants would navigate our program. Maybe not with as much ease. As Dr. Loy said, I know the website pretty well. But another resource we do let them know is if they have any questions, they are tied in with an instructor that they can ask questions, or they can send an email to our main email, info@3winsfitness.com. Those all go directly to me, and so we'll respond as needed.
Okay, thank you, Josh. So what I wanted to do was have Josh take us through the website so you could get a feel for it. But at the same point in time, knowing the timeline some of you are on, welcome you to the opportunity to use the website, that it's there. You have a 3 Wins program, you could have access to it, and that you could start your program from there right now with what is on there. With the programming that we have on there, if a person was low fit, obese, older, there's effectively 6 months of programming on there easily that you wouldn't have to create at all. That being said, there's also the possibility, and I think this is what I'm excited about, is potentially you having perhaps your students or your staff, you know, create small videos as a start, and then we can just put them on this website. Yeah, you have your shirt logo, where you're from, and it just gives them an understanding of how easy this can be if we work together. I would say it'd certainly be daunting if you had to create this by yourself. And that being said, having us start with this, as I said, in May, June, we moved pretty quickly. And that's with the help of all of our students. But again, having Josh with the technological expertise made it much easier. But then you don't all have to start from there because it's already done. And that's what we're saying, is that what's ours is yours at this point in time. Cal State LA, Dominguez Hills, you know, you've all taken advantage of some of the things that we have already. So that's the intent, is that no one needs to create their own thing and have everybody scrambling. Instead of just, you know, take a deep breath, you could go to this and it's all done. You have to go through the website a little bit and figure it out. But again, he's got the steps 1, 2, 3. So I want to introduce Jenny now. Jenny's going to give you a little bit more information on the Journey to Health. Each of the students will give a short intro of themselves and where they're at in the program. Jenny?
Thank you, Dr. Loy. Hi, everyone. I appreciate you all for being here and believing that we can make a bigger impact together in this world. And I've been in the program for 3 years. I am going into the master's program under Dr. Loy this upcoming fall, so I'm pretty excited about that. With the program and my time being here, what we've seen is that the participants, all of our participants, and us as humans in general, we all want a sense of belonging. We want to feel like we would belong in the community. And with 3 Wins, they've all felt the community family aspect. And so when COVID had happened and the stay-at-home order had happened, a lot of them had freaked out and the anxiety came in because their routine got taken away from them. And being a coach and understanding how people prioritize their health with exercise and that being taken away from them, it can drive anxiety up the roof. And so when in March, when we were told to stay home, we had thought, some of the students on this call too, were asking ourselves, how can we show up for our community even though we can't be there in person? And so that's when we started to do lives on Instagram. And only a couple of people had showed up, but we knew that we were still helping those couple of people getting better because they still wanted exercise to be a part of their lifestyle. However, with everything that is going on, we wanted, and understanding that this is going to be going on for at least another year, we wanted to take this step back and say, hey, okay, so what are our weaknesses in the program, and how can we get better when we come back on site? And so one of the biggest gap that we've had is bridging the gap from our falls prevention group to getting on and off the floor without pain. And so being a coach and being a developing professional in kinesiology, we see this as, well, why aren't these people who have been in the program with us for 6 years, haven't been able to do a push-up? Why can't they get on and off the floor? And so we decided to take this as an opportunity to pivot and make it as comfortable for them in their own household to work on their lifelong fitness, because exercise should be a supplement to an already active lifestyle. And with that, we've decided to do the prep program, the foundation, and the Back to Basics program and sort of replicate what we've already had at the parks, except putting standards to it. And so back at the parks, if some of you have seen the CSUN model and what we've been doing, we had our Let's Get Moving group, we had our active lifestyle group, and our performance group. And typically for people who are in active lifestyle, they should be able to get on and off the floor, but we do see that some people, they will go to that group because their friend is in that group. And so with that, we wanted to bring that online, and which is where we started to make more online programming onto our Instagram pages. However, we felt like we could do more and reach out to more people, and that's when we decided to bring the YouTube videos. We made the foundation, we made the prep, and then we made the program. But then when we did that, it still didn't feel like we were doing enough. And so we've decided to really tap into, well, how can we reach more people? And with a lot of people, it comes down to being intimidated by picking up a weight. It can be intimidation from just starting. It can just be whatever's holding them back in their mind. And so we decided, okay, well, if you see a lot of people who are out at the gyms, you see the before and after picture, but you don't see the after picture. And so how can we make this a lifelong journey for them? How can we jumpstart that for them? And so the idea of 365 Journey to Health came to life, and that's when we reached out to other experts within CSUN to collaborate with them to bring a more holistic approach to lifelong fitness. Because if you really want to make exercise a part of your life, you got to have the right mindset. you gotta eat properly in order to perform well. And you also have to be mindful and maintain your motivation throughout the whole entire thing, which then leads to discipline of making it a whole entire lifestyle. And then also understanding what certain risks may be as well. And so with that, we brought in the 4 experts, and every week they're rotating. And so we started off with nutrition, and then and after that we went into our exercise medicine, and then we went into mindfulness. And then this past week, yesterday, it was about how to maintain your motivation, keeping your eye on purpose. And then from there, we break it off into our 3 families. We have our prep, right? So people who are not able to get on and off the floor. We have our foundation, who get on and off the floor, but they're sort of struggling getting on and off the floor 10 times. And then we have our program, people who can excel getting on and off the floor, no problem. And so each of those families then have a head leader, the family leader. I'm the leader for the B2B prep program. Tony is the leader for the program. He's also another grad student. And Chris, the strength coach, is also a grad student as well. And so we all have that. And then with us, we also have our own support system of our instructors and coaches within the program as well. And then whoever is belonging into a program, we then take one of our instructors, and then we pair them up with one of the participants. That way they have their accountability partner. Because when it does come to creating a whole lifestyle of a holistic approach, it comes to consistency of it. And it can get really hard at first when you're doing it alone. And that comes back to the whole community aspect of doing it together. That way we feel more powerful together. We feel more inspired together to do better and to keep it for the rest of our life. And so we see this as a transition for them to then further on with their lifelong journey to wherever their destination may be.
Jenny. I want to have Letty come on board now. Letty is our sole public health representative. We did open our internship up to the public health department. We think there's a disconnect between public health and kinesiology or physical activity. And we see it on our campus. I see it in LA County. But Letty has joined us last year and stayed with us into this summer and going. She's going to tell you a little bit about the program that she's working with.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Loy. Yes, I am a public health student. I really liked the program. I believed in it, so I stuck around. I am the head of the communications for the Spanish-speaking family, Familia El Camino, and I see the value of this program. I've seen it firsthand, being bilingual myself and seeing the program be multilingual is amazing and extremely beneficial. This allows us to reach more people, more participants, where they know that we are thinking about them and making sure that they have access to the same information. For example, with the 365 Journey to Health, Dr. Loy had grouped a few of us together, Arlene and Alex included, to create a group for Spanish speakers. And we told all participants, and we emphasized with the Spanish speakers that they will be receiving the same information. We were able to establish the group, Familia El Camino, and it's been a good push. We have our participants, and on the student side, we condense and present information. But on the participant side of things, it's evident that they are interested in the information, the exercises, the programs itself, the talks with the experts. They miss the interactions in parks, but with this new virtual approach, it allows them to have a little bit more of a personal touch because they're able to reach us, message us, and ask away or communicate their thoughts and feelings, their highs and lows of this journey. They share their workouts with us. They share, what they eat in a day. They say, hey, I drank water today. We were able to establish a chat with that. It's the communication that they like, the participation, and just the overall, accountability of like, okay, I did this, let's share it with everybody. And I think we're able to present that information to the Spanish speakers. So I really enjoy working with them. I enjoy working with instructors, participants alike, and just that multilingual aspect of the program is a really good push.
Thank you, Letty. And I think it's been a welcome aspect. We knew that there were sometimes at the parks where we just didn't have enough Spanish-speaking students. and that oftentimes then, some of the messages didn't get delivered. So this has actually opened up the communication to that particular group. A lot of our Spanish speakers are bilingual, but there are some that speak Spanish only. And so this was a way to reach them. Arlene is working with Leti, and I think they also, maybe you can also talk about that they gravitated towards the WhatsApp communication as well. So Arlene's going to talk to you a little bit about that as well as Strava.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Good, okay. So yes, we created a WhatsApp family chat, which has been super fun. Waking up and seeing that these participants are waking up at 6 a.m. to get their walk on, and almost a little bit more motivated than we are, honestly, so it's even more motivational to us to stay on top of our game, and just to be able to have that connection with those participants is just amazing. And to see that even if it's just a small group, we're changing their lives. And so we love it a lot. So we believe that with a program like this, it's very, very crucial to establish SMART goals for our participants. We feel that it's often the key word is how. How are we going to do this? Just like earlier we were speaking, how are we going to get this program off the floor or restart it or make it happen? So we have to establish these SMART goals to show our participants that we have a specific path on how they're going to achieve their success on this journey. We also believe that as a student and as staff members, it's essential that we also create these SMART goals for ourselves, because what says accountability like having a support of someone who's going through that same journey or a similar journey that they are. And that's also being able to have someone to say, hey, are you doing okay? What do you need help with? It's both going to have success on our parts as students and staff and as a participant. So on top of also creating those accountability sheets where the participants can see and have something tangible that each week I managed to do this, or I was able to succeed, 2 hours of exercise or 2 days of cardio. It's something tangible, and it's what a lot of people need in order to succeed. We have also included the Strava app, something that we had done just for ourselves as students to keep each other accountable. We saw very quickly how it was all motivating us, and we thought, what better way to motivate our participants now to extend that invitation to them? So we created a small club on the Strava app. And you can, if you're not familiar with the Strava app, what you do is you start tracking your cardio, and you can add pictures, you can add descriptions, what you ate before, what you did before. Maybe you did 10 push-ups and 10 sit-ups, and then you went for your hour run or 30-minute run or however long. So it just tracks everything. Another way to stay accountable as well. So it's really nice to have another showcase of staying accountable. This is also something that is going to, or has been, building a greater sense of community, especially in a world that we live in now, very virtual. So it's good. It's nice to see, oh, that person is there, and I want to go there. I want to go run there, or I want to go cycling there. And it's not just for running, right? It's opening up these opportunities for our participants to realize, hey, I can go on a swim, or I can go on a bike and get my cardio in, and it's fun. And I can see that, Alex went for a run. Well, I want to go on a run too. Or, oh, that's a cool place, the canyon and the hike. And it just opens up so many places for them. Also, we believe that not all of us move the same way, right? So it shows opportunity to move different ways and see other places to move. So we really believe that the Strava app is a pivotal thing in our journey to health.
Thank you very much, Arlene. And we're seeing that it's a way to connect the students and the participants now. And originally we started it as our students to try and get our students to set their own SMART goals. And but we just saw that this was a natural evolution. I think that's what we've seen with Three Winds all along, is the ability for it to evolve as we encounter things. I wrote an article recently, and there's this conversation about a natural experiment that is a line of research, and that, you know, everything's not going to be according to plan. You can set up a protocol, and that doesn't work out in the field. Works okay in the lab usually, but not out in the field. And so you can't just throw up your hands, but you pivot, you make changes, and you see what will work best. At this point, then finally, I want to introduce you to Alex, in particular relative to your students. That Alex is a incoming sophomore at this point. I had him in an intro class as a freshman, and I wanted him to talk a little bit about the experiences he has had and the value that he has derived, coming from a freshman who has not had the foundational classes in kinesiology yet. So Alex?
Hello, everyone. So yeah, my name's Alex. I am now a sophomore, no longer a freshman, finally. And I joined this program freshman year. I was a little hesitant, just like everyone else. I mean, you see all these, these older students in the program, and you don't feel as prepared because you just got here to college. I just think it's really hard because you're still trying to adapt. But, you know, I took on the opportunity, at first I thought about it, and I knew I saw the importance of soft skills. So I knew I wanted to get better at those, as well as I wanted to become a leader. And this was a great way to practice that leadership role. So those were the two skills in mind when I joined this program. As well, it was kinesiology. So I knew I was going to learn more about the field. Like Dr. Loy said, I haven't taken those classes yet, but I knew I would be a step ahead if I would join this program. So that's what I did. But honestly, I was very shocked on how much skills I've acquired, because I didn't just learn leadership. I didn't just learn soft skills, but I picked up some video editing skills. I'm in the Spanish group as well. So I can practice my Spanish, and I've become more fluent at it, more confident with my Spanish. I've also learned more about kinesiology, about cueing. So I feel those are just some of the few skills I've picked up being in this program. So I never would have imagined if I never took this opportunity. So I'm very thankful for that. I know the circumstances right now aren't great, but I tried to see it through the positive light, seeing, you know, this is a time, you know, maybe we can slow down, break some bad habits, pick up some new skills. So that's the approach I went with. And I think a lot of students, at least in my age, you know, sophomores, freshmen, maybe I think the biggest barrier is probably getting out of that comfort zone, because, you know, you don't want to step out. You still feel like you want to be in this like little shell. Part of it might be because you're coming from high school into, you know, college, which is life now. So I think that's the biggest barrier. That's the biggest barrier, getting out of your comfort zone. And I think, sorry, I lost my train of thought here. So I think the thing is, it's about perspective, finding purpose on what you're doing. I think that's what's really helped. And I think that's what students need to see, what you can gain from these opportunities. I think maybe you just see it as, oh, I don't want to get out of my comfort zone. But they don't see that if you get out of your comfort zone, there's going to be a lot of reward coming with it too. So I think breaking that barrier is probably the biggest thing that I've learned. The more you feel uncomfortable, the better you're doing, pretty much. You're learning more skills, you're growing more as a person. So that's what I've learned from this program, and I'm very appreciative about it.
Thank you, Alex. It's a good job. Okay, let's open this up to questions that you may have. We'll kind of call on you if we see you raise your hand. Joella?
Yeah, hi. So I see your website is awesome. And thank you for letting us use it. I guess I was thinking that we were gonna just have all virtual classes. The 3 ones that we had here at Dominguez, they were meeting Monday, Wednesday, Friday at a specific time. Is that just not, are you guys just doing those family meetings and just telling people go to the website?
So what we have at this point is that we establish a regular meeting day. So we call that our exercise meeting. So that we have that every week. And within that, then we put them into breakout rooms, depending on if they're prep, foundation, or program. And so they identify themselves just like Nicole says, CSUSB, they put prep, and then we split them up at that time. And then they talk about their individual programs. But we have that Tuesday as an exercise meeting. The other meetings with the experts that we have, then we have that on the calendar. So once a month, or I should say once a week, an expert comes in and talks about nutrition. And then the next week it'll be about anxiety. And so we haven't obligated our experts overwhelmingly. We've said once a month, you need to pull something together. And for most of them, they're talking off the top of their heads, right? This is 101 stuff that they're talking about. But yet it brings in other aspects of the university so that they also then can be familiar with what kinesiology is doing. Lets you network a little bit as a faculty and tie them in without a big commitment on their part. And then our participants, as well as our students, then know what the calendar is. And okay, on the exercise meetings, this is where I'm going to get this information. Then if we do have them assigned to an accountability partner, and that person then sets up a schedule in coordination with the participant of what they like to have an outreach by text or email once a week or every other week, etc. And we think that with Strava, that may start to eliminate some of that, because now you got everybody kind of chiming in and incorporating our students to comment. Don't just give kudos, but comment on the activity itself and have that little interaction.
So Agnes also just hopped on, so maybe she can also answer your question a little better, Joella, relative to those meetups, because although we're not in person, our Facebook Live more or less mirrors that same schedule of Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at 8:30 or 10 a.m. or whatever the case may be. So they still kind of have that interaction where, morning program, got to hop onto Facebook Live or whatever the case may be. And that is like exactly how we do in the park, where they follow along with our instructors on the screen. They're queuing, they're, calling out, 5 seconds left or whatever it is. So did she leave? I think she did.
No, Agnes is there. Agnes, why don't you give us a couple of minutes on the social media outreach that you have given?
Yes, Josh, what was the question that you were talking about?
So the question was about the scheduling, right? If, since when we were in person, we were meeting in person at, Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 8:30 to 9:30. So just kind of talk about how we've transferred that to social media and Facebook Live.
Yes. Okay. So originally, by the way, I'm Agnes. Nice to meet all of you. Thank you all for attending. I'm actually the social media coordinator and marketing director for 3 Wins. So I've been in charge of all the postings, the schedulings. We have a routine that we like to do, and that is to be organized. We make a calendar for the month, and that's how we follow through with what we're posting for every day, every week. And we'll have a theme, and in regards to, or our theme will correspond to whatever we are doing in 3 Wins. For example, in May, which was the transition from the spring semester onto our summer semester, we didn't exactly have a set theme, but we were focusing more on mindfulness. So that was our theme for May, and that's what we would post about. and then we created our Back to Basics program. So our Back to Basics program then became our focus when we shifted on to June, and then so on with July with our 365 program. So we did decide to still keep that interaction with our participants. So we would create, this is separate from our social media calendar, is our live calendar. Because now that we have our Back to Basics program, it goes by phases and it goes by each week. So we try to go, at least before we were doing Monday through Friday. So we had a English session Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then, thank you, Joshua. And then we had a Spanish session on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So for example, this one that he just pulled up is recent, though this was for for this week. If you see, we don't have Tuesday, Thursdays for this week. We did have last week, but because we restarted our Back to Basics program, because our Back to Basics program, if you're not familiar, has a prep, a foundation, and then the program. So the different levels, just as if we were still in the park. Because in the park, we had our LGM group, our active lifestyle, and our performance group. So this is somewhat similar or mirroring what we are doing in our Back to Basics program. So if you look at the calendar or the schedule that we have, so we are definitely doing the Monday, Wednesday, Fridays as if we were doing it at the parks, and then we have our times there, and then whoever our coach or instructor is. We do have the question of what's the difference between a coach and instructor. So our coaches are actually the ones who are certified, and our instructors are not yet certified or are still interested and are in the process of doing it. And actually today, if you are all free later on, we are doing a special live workout collaboration with our George Washington. Kelly is actually on this call. We are doing a special live workout collaboration at 12:30, that is Pacific Standard, and then 3:30 at Eastern Time. That is going to be also on Instagram and on Facebook. So I did want to stress the importance of using social media correctly, because if you use social media correctly, it can be a very resourceful tool for all of you, especially since we are now transitioning onto a virtual program, into something online, because we have all these restrictions due to COVID. And if any of you are interested, or if any of you need help in boosting that up with your social media, I am more than happy to help you. I will put in my email in the chat, and if anyone has any questions for me outside of this meeting, feel free to reach out to me and I will help you as much as I can.
Thank you very much, Agnes. It's been a good way of keeping in contact with people. Surprising to me sometimes the people who pop up on those Facebook Live workouts and seem to be fairly regular. One of the things that we did identify that we needed to do was we reached out to all of our participants, and for those that wanted to connect with social media but had not yet, we did have a Facebook and a Instagram workshop. So we had a Zoom workshop on how to hook up, because every time they would ask a question on the Zoom classes, our students would cover it, but they were doing it very slow, but it was like it was going really fast for everyone else. And so our participants weren't able to keep up with that. And so we pulled it out into a separate situation. And so you may find that that's necessary too, just to get everybody up to speed and connected. And as Josh alluded to earlier, there's the challenge too with some people that are using their phone versus computer, et cetera. And so that becomes a challenge. But again, thank you, Agnes, for exposing. And yeah, you are all invited to join George Washington. I think they're calling it a Coast to Coast boot camp.
I have a question, or maybe a couple. Your website looks awesome. You guys did a really good job on pivoting and getting everything set up. we're definitely a lot smaller program, so it's very overwhelming to see all the things that you've all done, because I don't think we would have the capacity to do that right now, or normally under any circumstance, because we're just not as big. So I'm trying to just imagine how our program would be able to utilize your resources, which is awesome that we can do so, but then try to also have our own community, if that makes sense. Or is it probably best at this point just to be like, just do all this? And because I guess I'm trying to figure out, if they sign up, they're kind of going to all your instructors, not necessarily ours, right? They're getting grouped with your team. Is there a way to set instructors up on yours, like our instructors send them to you, or should we just do like a hybrid model where we pick what we want out of your program and then do our own Facebook lives? Or I guess I'm trying to imagine how this would look, or is it kind of just different depending on situations?
I think one of the things that you will recognize quickly is that the way you go is dependent upon who your talent is. You know, who do you have? Who do you have and what are their skill sets? You could look at this right now as, you know, you're part of a larger company, and that, yeah, this is our company. Yeah, this is just one part of it over here, and then there's us. And then you can create your videos. You could decide where you want to plug them in. So for example, I think one of the great entry points is Foundation. That's where we have all the different languages, so that you can say, you plug right in there. That's an easy one because that's a voiceover. You follow the movements and then you do a voiceover, so the students don't have to talk and act at the same time. So they do the voiceover, and then you can direct your participants to that particular one. And again, Josh has that capacity to search. So you could always search, here's our instructors. But I think the Foundation is a good one. And then depending on who your participants are, if you anticipate that they're mostly prep, then same thing. Those are voiceovers as well, in that you can create those same prep ones. Or you can say, okay, you know, we don't have time to do this, but let's just do phase 1 and phase 2, because that'll take you through 4 weeks right there, and maybe 8 weeks. And then you buy yourself time and say, okay, I got phase 1 and phase 2 done while our participants are working on that. Now let's get a couple of students to do phase 3, phase 4. And then if you have the students that are excellent at form, excellent at cueing, they can be your mentors. So they can say, okay, phase 1 video, check, that's done. That's all good. You could just send that over to us, and Josh can put that on the website, because that's an easy upload for him if it's all done already. And so we would just give you the metrics of what needs to be done. So you could pick and choose. By the same token, then you can also say, depending upon the students that we have, we will select on what parts of the program we are going to emphasize by who our participants are. So it all depends on you assessing who's your staff, who are your participants, what do you need to create quickly so that you have your own presence there, what don't you have to, because we're all part of the same team.
Okay, that makes
does yeah,
yeah, and are you restricting? I mean, obviously, normally we're in specific locations in, you know, you're in LA County or whatever. But for us, I mean, is this when people start to post this on social media? I mean, it's kind of start to outreach. I'm guessing whoever at this point, they could be across the country, or now, I mean, there's programs across the country anyways. But so, I mean, it doesn't matter at this point, or are we trying to control that? Or I guess
no. I think that's again what we saw relatively quickly was we had the opportunity to go beyond LA, the San Fernando Valley. We have a large number of constituents from Northern California. Our students have tapped into their families. We have, let's see, Arlene's mother connects with her sister in Guatemala. So there's this opportunity to now have this national, international reach. And they have figured out, okay, you know, depending on the connectivity that someone has somewhere else, they have figured out their own mechanisms of how to make it work. So no restrictions on where your outreach is. I think that's what's great about this, that we would not have seen otherwise, is the potential outreach that is there.
Yeah, and I feel like this will go beyond beyond COVID, right? I think it'd be in partnership with live classes, because once you don't want to take, you probably won't want to take that away once, because it's pretty successful already.
Well, what we see too is that, there's a lot of people that don't want to start an exercise class until they're ready, right? That, I got to get in shape before I join. And we think that that's where the prep program becomes very, very important, is that I could work on those skills for the first 6 months, get comfortable, get a little bit looser, feel like I can join a class, and I could do that in the privacy of my own home, but they could communicate with us, they could get to know us. And then by the time they're ready to come out to the parks, they actually know us already. So we think it's going to be a more welcoming environment.
So there's a couple that have their hands raised, but I want to kind of in conjunction with that last question from Nicole, there's also a question: does the registration form capture the geographic location? As of now, it does not, but we can certainly add it to the registration form. So if, like, let's say, Nicole, you were saying if you wanted to send your participants to our registration form, and then they would identify, what location are you from? Are you in Indianapolis? Are you, San Bernardino? Whatever the case may be. And then we can give you access to that spreadsheet where you can say, okay, this is their email address, this is their SMART goal. And we can certainly set something set something up that way if there's any interest.
Yeah, I think that would be really helpful, because then we could access even later, once we're back in the park, we just have all that. We can now say, hey, to this group of people, we're going to be back in the park live. Can you come? Or we want to see you now because we can, right? So I think that would help us keep track of, because I think it's still important that they register to get all the information that you guys are providing. It makes sense, but then if they get lost in the shuffle, that would be the harder part. So yeah, if it's like a drop down menu, or they just type in city or something, and we can kind of do something like that.
Yeah, so we can certainly do that. So I think what we can do is I'll send an email to the group, and then you all can respond with the city or something that that participants are going to write down, or you can just tell them, there'll be a drop down, select San Bernardino, make sure you select Indianapolis, or whatever, whatever you want, we can make it. Absolutely. We'll just put it in a drop down, and they'll know exactly what to look for when they go there.
It could be a question of, like, how did you hear about us?
Yeah.
And tagging it with the university, but I definitely see, my brain was going to the exact same place, because our students are primarily out of state. So we already are going to be hitting a bunch of different areas just by the student involvement alone. So
what we can do then, actually, because I have at the end of the form, there is a section who referred you. So as of now, it's a open-ended, but I can create a drop down, so it's a lot easier, so they don't have to guess. They can just say, oh yeah, George Washington or Indianapolis. So we can do that. Absolutely. That'll be an easy switch.
Right. And we could tell our people to specify that they're affiliated with GW.
Exactly.
Because we're also encouraging people to share it personally.
Yes.
Does your form link with an email marketing system?
MailChimp.
Okay.
So that'll be the only thing, is I have to figure out a way where I can extrapolate that so they're not tied into all of our emails, because unless they still wanted to attend all of our Zoominars, I'll have to figure that part out.
You and I can talk about that. I'm not sure if MailChimp specifically has that functionality to tag. Well, no, it does have tags, but there may be a limit on it. So you can associate it somehow.
Yeah, I just don't know from the form, because right now it's set up so once it's submitted, it adds a tag, but I don't know if I can add a tag based on certain criteria within the form. So that part I'll have to figure it out.
You can. I actually just did it earlier today for an RSVP form, Google form, to pull the email and then send a calendar invite.
Perfect.
So I will send you that info.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jason, you had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, I want to echo Dr. Dabbs' sentiments on the website. I think it looks terrific, and just I'm really impressed by the level of work by all those students. Really, I think you guys should be really proud of what you're doing, and I think that speaks a lot of Dr. Loy's leadership style. And so I'm inspired. My question goes back to Joshua, when you were showing us the website and you were going through the steps that somebody would take to sign up. You mentioned that the first thing they would do is fill out the PAR-Q, which is great, but then you mentioned that they didn't have to turn it in. So are you guys doing something on the side to screen? Are you collecting health history information? And if so, what are you doing to keep that information safe and confidential?
So that was a challenge of deciding exactly what do we want to do with this online format. How much do we want to get involved? And we wrestled with that a little bit with the Facebook Live. Should we have Zoom sessions of exercise? And it's something that individually I think you all have to wrestle with, that we have them fill out the PAR-Q because we think that's important for them to know. And we use the PAR-Q as opposed to the ACSM's pre-history questionnaire because our university felt that that was too liberal, and they didn't want people to exercise so easily. They wanted them to make sure they went through all the hoops that sort of discourage people from exercise. So we had to go back to the old PAR-Q. So that depends on your level of comfort, I think, in terms of, and whether or not you're doing some research where you need certain kinds of information. But in terms of the PAR-Q, we have them do it. It's for their own information. We don't collect that. We advise them that if you check yes, then you need to consult with a physician prior to engage. But we do not follow up on that. We're kind of basing that on the premise of online exercise programs in general. You could click on anything and you could follow anything you want, and nobody would know and nobody would care. So at least we're giving them that education piece. Again, it goes back to your own institution and how comfortable you are at that point. We don't do the Zoom classes because that's the question that we have. In fact, we have an adapted class here, and they offer Zoom classes, but they have the participant sign something that says, and these are individuals that have challenges, they have pre-existing problems, but that they are working with this group, and if that person goes down on the screen, they have some protocol in that they say, set your computer up far enough away so that we can see you head to toe, so that if you go down and we have your emergency number to call, they've done that. So everybody needs to decide what your comfort zone is with that. We show them the exercises. We let them come and talk to us about them. We do have the opportunity to meet with them and say, you're not doing that correctly. You need to do this. But it is a challenging question.
Do you have any
Josh?
kind of statement that's kind of like a exercise at your own risk or something like that?
You should just put it on shirts.
We do have the, let's see, what's the liability form? That's for our students. We have the release of for photo, on Zoom. We have that, but we don't have a full release of liability of the program, do we, Josh?
We have a CSUN waiver of liability.
Yeah, we have everybody sign when if we have everyone sign it, if they subscribe to the journey, to the 365. Okay, so if they say they're going to be a part of this journey, then we have them fill that one out. If they come and visit, etc., we don't. So the CSUN one is the same one. It's the CSU overall liability form that they have. So that's if they sign up for the journey, correct, Josh?
Yeah. Yeah, if they, because there's an opportunity where they can just sign up for the emails and just get all the information, or they can actually register as a participant. But when they register, there's the CSUN waiver of liability and the visual audio release form.
So relative to Nicole's question, relative to the parks, right now we don't have any affiliation with the parks. So even as we go into this academic year, we aren't filling out the normal consent forms that we have with the parks.
Okay, yeah, that was because we do have a consent form that is in conjunction with the city recreation department. So are you using anything through the city to like advertise, like through their websites, or it's strictly you're just going away from the city until you get back into the parks?
Right. Correct.
So it becomes, for you, it becomes a CSUN program. Because I guess the way that it was pitched originally for us before COVID was it's a city program and we're just kind of providing the volunteers that need to go through all the loopholes, whatever. So now I think like I'm worried about risk management and what they're going to make us do, because now it's kind of on us, or maybe on you. We're just going to use your program. But so just kind of managing that, because universities like to all the things they like to do.
Yeah, and ours differed depending upon the park system. So LA County Park, they considered it their own. LA City did not, and so it just depends.
Okay.
But that's where I think Jill had the Zoom classes that she talked about that they conduct, and I think we are putting it as an online program. People have access to it and they can follow along with it, which is a little different than leading the class live. Other questions?
Yeah. So one, it's been said already, but yeah, incredible of what all you've put together with the website and the growth of the program and moving to virtual. I do think, and Kelly and Michelle and I for GW, we've been texting each other back and forth with this, that there is a unique opportunity here, for broader partnership at this point. I know each university's in their locations trying to launch their own program and do their own thing in their community. But given with what COVID is right now, I think there's, the opportunity for greater capacity in this case, not reinventing everything, but strengthening the resources and even more, collaboration across the universities, where, GW students are working with CSUN students, are working with Cal State LA, Dominguez Hill. So it's also an opportunity to open up the students' networks as well and to connect with other students around the country. And so we were thinking just even, again, trying to get our own website up and running. We've made some progress, but again, if it's something more where we're able to combine resources and just have more of that, talent pool going in, you can really beef this up. So I think there could be, the opportunity there where even with GW, still having like our own kind of chapters, like I know Dr. Loy, Josh, and I think some of the other CSUN students are familiar with, like November Project, this big fitness movement across the country, different targeted audience, but similar concept of free fitness, community building. You have leaders in different areas, but it all filters into the collective. That's what I'm seeing the opportunity here right now. And then on the students, and I don't know, so I know with CSUN, Dr. Loy, in addition to them in the community part, you also have the student network opportunities and like how they're thinking about, their career and connecting them to people in the field. I think there's the opportunity for that as well of, again, student exposure, Well, now you can link people to, you know, faculty at GW, faculty at Indiana, or whoever is in their networks as well, for at least like a student aspect where it's okay. We're going to have a career program for the students as who are part of the programs, and you'll get to talk with, you know, someone who works for HHS or something like that. Just other things I'm seeing with this on how this could grow out. And again, utilizing all the resources that are available rather than trying to do it, you know, in our own separate silos at this point.
Well, I think, I mean, I know that's the, that's our intention, is that whatever we've developed is open to all of you. There is no need to everybody to dive deep and try and figure out their own thing. I think that all we would need to do is to set up, you know, appropriate meetings that say, okay, what can we do that helps you do what you need to do? What do you have to offer? How do we integrate that as much as possible? There is absolutely no reason for everybody to try and do something different. If you see that what we're doing works for you. No intention to force everybody into this model. We're just doing what we think we can do out here and what works out here. But that's been my push from the beginning, is that we all ought to be working closer together. Kinesiology, exercise science in general.
Would it require like if we were to partner and stuff, would it be like an MOU among the universities or anything?
You're talking to someone who's not really into MOUs. I still like a handshake. You know, it's about trust. It's about networking.
Yeah.
You know, everything that you've done with 3 Wins at GW, you know, we've never talked about any of those kinds of things because I think they get in the way personally. I think that if we trust each other and we can help each other, that's the best way to go. I know some universities like to have MOUs. I kind of look at this as a grassroots effort, although one of my colleagues said grassroots has political implications, but it's just whatever works for all of you.
I'm all for as much as avoiding bureaucracy at this point, just trying to get the program launched at GW and the stuff we've had to gone through. Like, I'm okay without that. And I think the other great thing would be, and to everything that CSUN has put together at this point, you know, right? It's like with our students, we like direct them to the website of CSUN and like, this is the vision and where we're trying to go and stuff. Now it's like, you can tell your students like, you're part of this. It's not just we're trying to do it here now. This is, again, a collective whole. And so it gives them like more sense of, I think, inspiration and just fulfillment.
Yeah, I think, you know, we've encouraged you all to access the Google Drive that has the logos and then go ahead and put your own school on it. We didn't think about that originally, so ours doesn't have our school on it, but you know, put your schools on it. And the advantage of staying with the 3 Wins Fitness is simply that there is this branding that starts to be consistent and people can hear about it from more places as opposed to, you know, 6 different programs and they're not connected. So that would be what I would encourage, that you have access to everything that we have. It's truly an open book. I mean, the Google Drive, the Google Docs, whatever helps you get what you need to get out of it, the identifiers that you need to pull your data out or to pull your participants so you can email them directly. I think that if there's a desire to do that, then what we would need to do is to create a separate meeting where you all have your quote unquote, we'll call them wishes, not demands, right? Wishes for what will work for you. And then we sit down and Josh can tell you whether or not it works with our current system or what we might have to do to adjust. That to me would be the next step if that's a desire that you have at this point. I would say too that, like I say, with Josh and I were co-authoring this article talking about the challenges of physical activity and physical inactivity. And in that process, it was going through the World Health Organization's Global Action Plan for physical activity. And they're supposed to come up in 2021 on their third year evaluation of how far have we gotten towards 2030. My impression from the literature is they haven't gotten very far. And because here in LA, I never heard about WHO's Global Action Plan, at least not from public health resources. So I don't think they have achieved what they intend to achieve. And our perspective was that at some point in time, it's the kinesiology departments, it's the ACSMs, it's the ACEs of the world, the organizations and the people who have physical activity in their DNA that really care about it. That's where it's going to drive. Unfortunately, our kinesiology departments as a whole don't have physical activity in their DNA. They have something that's related to movement, but they aren't seeing the challenges that we have with physical inactivity as part of their objective. So at some point, I think there has to be someone taking charge, because the analogy I used was that they had the World Health Organization meeting to create the Global Action Plan, and everybody that was invited there were experts. They were people's names that you would recognize. And then they created the plan, which is amazing. And then they came home and went back to their regular jobs. And that's where the drop-off is. Then there's those of us who, that is our regular job, but that needs to be then, we need to get that collaboration going. We need to get the recognition and the acceptance from kinesiology that this is our job, this is our future, and that if our departments are going to make progress in the future, we need to take a hold of it now. And I don't think that exists. I mean, I'm working with George Washington and Loretta and the three individuals here. They get it because they're in an integrated department. They see that. But the number of departments that have that integration are very, very small.
Yeah.
And
the School of Public Health doesn't necessarily see it, though.
Yeah, we have challenges
So
even
keep
with the
that in mind.
schools.
Okay, and so even within
Like,
your
you just do yoga. You just do a bunch of yoga.
which is amazing, right? Even within your situation with the profile that you all have, that your own public health doesn't see it yet. So that's where I believe that we can't wait. We can't wait for public health to get it.
Yeah.
Because we'll be at 2030, which is what Cole and all of the other authors that wrote for Lancet, they said 2001 we had this problem, 2012 we haven't figured it out, 2016 we haven't figured it out, and then now 2020, one of the authors is calling a call for action, that we've got to turn words into action. So speaking to the choir here, but if this choir wants to start to pull pieces together, then let's create the separate meeting. I'll let you talk to yourselves and figure out where this fits with you and what you need from us, and then just get back to us. And then collectively, if there's enough of you that we need to have another separate meeting, then we will. But that meeting will be an action meeting to get done what you need to get done. Jill?
Yes, I just appreciate you all so much. I love hearing from the students. You're an inspiration to me, and I hope future students. And so I have a two-parter here. One is for all the students that are here, I am wondering if we could create a Zoom call with my future students to talk to them about your role in 3 Wins. I love the idea of a panel because students, if they see other students, they're going to be like, wow, they're my age and they're doing this, because I think they can't do it. So I guess I'd love to get all the students' emails and invite you to a Zoom call for my future students. I'm trying to think, their class is 1 to 220. So that's going to be, 10 for you, which is still probably okay. So students, if you wouldn't mind, and Dr. Loy, if you could maybe, give them my email or somehow get me connected.
I'll tie all of you in an email together.
That
Are
would
you
be,
when do you start classes, Jill?
we start the 24th. And so for me, it's the 25th, but it would probably not be exactly the 25th and more like the 27th, August 27th, I would be looking at for a panel. And then the other thing is, I'm wondering if all of our classes, Kinesiology 325, that's the Group X leadership, I'm wondering if typically I have them active in my classroom, and I'm wondering if I can get them active in 3 Wins. So Josh, I'm wondering if we could do that pull down and have Indy, if I could have my students participate in the program as their sort of first step in kind of encountering your program, just becoming familiar with the website and all of that. Will that work?
Interact as a participant?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think if we set up this separate meeting to talk about how we want to create this, filtration system, if you will, of, who's in Indiana, who's in George Washington, so on and so forth, we can figure that out. But if they want to get started now, they can absolutely just register. The liability and all that, what they can do is if they want to just get the information, they can just subscribe rather than register. I think that might be the easiest for now. And they can always register later once we figure that all out. I'll drop in the website, or the URL for them to subscribe. It's just 3winsfitness.com/subscribe. So if they type their email in there, they'll get a confirmation that they've subscribed, and they'll get all the information so that they can start attending some of these sessions, the Zoominars and what have you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're getting close to getting that syllabus due. So I appreciate you guys. You've given me a little bit there. So thank you.
Now you don't have to plan for the first week. This can be your first week class.
I'm in a little bit of a hot seat this weekend, but it's all good. This is a great meeting for me.
Yeah, so I will send an email out with all of the schools as well as all of the students. I'll put the students in the CC, and then you can see who they are. And, we start classes on the 24th as well. So it may be just a case of juggling. And certainly we have other students as well who could pitch in if there's certain topics that you want covered. Okay, anything else? Any other questions, comments?
Tim, you had your hand raised?
Oh, I was just going to make a comment to Dr. Loy's point earlier on the physical activity plan, and great in concept, but some frustration with it. But just so everyone's aware, and I'm still pessimistic about it, but they are merging and partnering with National Physical Activity Society and the National Coalition for Promoting Physical Activity. They've all come together now, and they're the physical activity promote. I'll have to look it up and send it to the group, but they basically have merged and trying to pull the resources, but we will see. It still sounds like similar to what they've tried to be doing for a while. Oh, Physical Activity Alliance is what it's called now.
Biggest challenge is the trickle down. It doesn't get past that meeting to make it operationalized. But that's a problem for another day.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate everybody's attendance. Thank you to our students for presenting and sharing your experiences. I know this was a short notice to you to do that, but you all did great. And I thank all of you faculty from the different institutions coming together. We are willing to help you in any way that we can. If we see things coming across that suggest that a group meeting might be worthwhile, more than happy to do that. If also you know, you can do it during your class, but if you want to set up something that's out of class where perhaps there's other institutions as well as our students coming together, so kind of just like this, because I think it's a little bit impressive to other students to see more than one institution involved, especially when you go, okay, Indianapolis, now I've heard of that city, you know, and I've heard of that state, George Washington, wow, that's East Coast. It triggers something for them that they see that this is bigger than just one other partner. So if we can get some group meetings together, that would be great too. Anything else? Last chance.
One quick final, I guess, mini poll here. So this is recording. Do you all, because I know some universities don't have complete access to Google Drive. Do you want me to share this as in Google Drive or as a YouTube link? What would be easier for all of you to access it so you can share?
Any link that opens, I guess, is fine. Just
I
want to
think
share with.
I'd go YouTube. Everyone can access that. So what I'll do, Josh, is when I send the email out with everyone, you can follow up after it's rendered down and follow that email with the YouTube link. And that'd be a good thing for all of our students here to look at so you can see how you sounded. Got to check yourself out. Make it better next time. Not that it wasn't great, but everybody can always be better, right? Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, let's have our students stay on, okay?